Hello guys, welcome back to LR Anime. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of BTTH Rebirth of Emperor Yang episode number 141 based on novel. So let's start. The sound of a bang spread endlessly in the stone chamber. The battle between the North King and the old man became more and more intense, but at the same time, the faces of the other two old men in black robes became more and more gloomy and dignified. Because after the collision between the old man and the North King, all the injuries suffered by the North King will recover quickly under the repair of the painted black thunder. On the contrary, the black-robed old man, after all, is a body of flesh and blood. The consumption of fighting spirit, coupled with the terrible recovery ability of the North King and the puppet, is an invincible god of war. Even though his own strength is stronger than the North King, he is not the opponent of the North King after all under such a long consumption. If he continues like this, I'm afraid he will be completely defeated in the hands of the North King in a short time. At present, the old man also had mixed feelings. After another fierce collision with the North King, both of them withdrew dozens of steps backward. Seeing that the sunken part of the North King was recovering rapidly with the naked eye, the old man felt a burst of anxiety. Then he quickly looked at the other two old men in black robes at the time of breathing. When the mouth was neutral, he shouted, "Second and third, what are you waiting for? Hurry up, make a quick decision and finish that guy earlier. Damn it. It's easy to say. You have the ability. You come." Hearing this, the two old men also wanted to scold loudly. Originally, with their strength, they should be able to solve it easily in the face of two strong people of the same level, especially when they have been hurt and their strength has been damaged. However, perhaps it was the strength shown by the black-robed man that inspired them. For a while, their joint offensive was blocked by them. Moreover, with the mysterious black-robed man looking at them, almost every fatal blow of the two men would be forcibly blocked by him. This also makes their strength cannot be really brought into play. However, they can only contain each other and cannot find a complete solution to them. As for Xiao Yang at the moment, when he saw that the North King was right, the lips under the black robe could not help but arouse a smile. Judging from the achievements of Beiwang at the moment, with the recovery ability of the thunder, Beiwang today has been able to fight with ordinary emperor fighting strong men without losing the wind. Even, over time, with the advantage of his puppet, he can also defeat each other, and this is still the North King of the quasi-duty level. If his strength really reaches the duty level, I'm afraid he can fight with the strong ones in the middle of the Yixingdu Emperor alone. Thinking of this, Xiao Yang's heart can't help but surge into a hot mood. The strength of the North King also represents his strength. In this way, in the future, when he waits for the front four main doors, he can have the power to face them all. Who? With this in mind, Xiao Yang couldn't help but breathe out a long breath and smile in his heart. Now the North King has become the fighting emperor. The account between him and the four major gates can also be counted. In the future, the four major gates will certainly pay a price for the original thing. Sure. Suddenly, Xiao Yang's eyes under his black robe suddenly lifted up. At the same time, he waved his big hand and started with the heavy ruler painted black. Now that he has chosen to fight, he is not afraid to be recognized by the other party. Moreover, Xiao Yang doesn't think he can hide for long on this trip to ancient ruins. Since he has to expose his identity sooner or later, it's a little sooner or later, what's the difference? At the moment when the heavy ruler appeared in Xiao Yang's hand, the two old men in black immediately looked over. Now, they dare not treat Xiao Yang as an ordinary half-emperor. After all, they have never seen any half-emperor who can beat back the strong one. However, when they saw the huge black ruler in Xiao Yang's hand at the moment, the look in their eyes changed suddenly. In their minds, they immediately thought of a man who is famous now in the whole western region. Xiao Yang. You are Xiao Yang. Staring at Xiao Yang in front of him with fear, the fighting spirit in the two people's bodies stagnated at this moment, their teeth trembled, and the words spit out from their mouths seemed vague. After all, Xiao Yang is not only the most famous person recently, but also a legend for his achievement. The three of them naturally know about the war in Hanshi City 3 months ago. Although they are not as divine as the ordinary people, they also know that Xiao Yang in front of them actually hit Sun Shore in the face. Just imagine that Xiao Yang can beat Sun Shore in the face in front of everyone in the whole Hanshi City without injury. Now it's not easy to deal with them. Hearing the words of the two elders, the corners of Xiao Yang's mouth under his black robe rose slightly, even with a sneer. Congratulations, you guessed right, but 7 times to break the sky ruler. The cold laughter in his mouth just came out. Without waiting for the voice to fall, the giant ruler in Xiao Yang's hand suddenly crossed his head. Immediately, he made a sudden effort on his hands holding the giant ruler. His body was filled into the heavy ruler crazily. In an instant, the flame soared crazily on the heavy ruler. The temperature in the whole stone chamber also became extremely hot in the twinkling of an eye. Then, the heavy ruler was waved fiercely, and the startling ruler Mang almost filled most of the stone chamber. At the moment when the two old men in black robes saw the startling ruler Mang, their faces were even more frightened, but they were also powerful and powerful. Their inner concentration was far more comparable. Immediately, after a moment, their faces looked more frightened. He quickly became calm. The third brother, do it together. I don't believe it. He's really as divine as the rumors outside. One of the two elders shouted loudly. Immediately, the body under the black robe suddenly shook, and the fighting spirit in the body surged out in an instant, turned into a towering fighting light column, and bombarded the top of the stone chamber. Buzzing. The huge force poured down, and the whole stone chamber trembled slightly at this moment. At the same time, another old man in black robe, also at the moment when the words fell in the former's mouth, his body shook, and the same scene appeared again. Human advanced fighting skill. Tear the wind. Human advanced fighting skills. The raging sea waves. Human advanced fighting skills. Tear the wind. Angry sea waves. In the huge stone chamber, two old men in black robes shouted, earth shaking at the same time. At the same time, over their heads, the powerful fighting energy condensed rapidly. In the twinkling of an eye, a flying eagle transformed by the blue fighting spirit and a substantial sea wave condensed. The powerful momentum and pressure make the surrounding void collapse, and the residual power sent out makes people tremble in their hearts. In the face of their powerful human-level fighting skills, Rao felt an invisible pressure in Xiao Yang's heart at the moment. After all, the other party is a strong fighter. He wants to fight them with one person's strength, but he thinks it's too simple. But now the sword is out of its sheath and cannot be turned back without seeing blood. If he wants to end the battle in the field, he must go all out to solve the two people in front of him before he can calm the storm. Drink. With this in mind, Xiao Yang suddenly gave a sharp drink at the bottom of his heart. His mind moved. The fierce fighting spirit in his body poured out madly at this moment. At the same time, a clear rune appeared slowly in the center of his eyebrows. This rune represents the family pattern of the Xiao family. When the clan pattern was sacrificed, the fighting spirit in Xiao Yang's body suddenly soared. Together with the breath in his body, it also increased rapidly. In a twinkling of an eye, Xiao Yang's breath had reached the late stage of 6-star-and-a-half Emperor, followed by the peak of the later stage. Finally, it was in the eyes of the two people who were shocked in front of him that he broke through to the level of 7-star-and-a-half Emperor. However, this is more than that. When the breath in Xiao Yang's body stops completely, his power has surprisingly reached the level of the middle of the 7-star-and-a-half Emperor. The smell of this guy. How? Damn. Anyway, do your best to kill him. The two black-robed elders' faces changed dramatically. At the same time, the more surging fighting spirit in their palms poured out madly at this moment. The power of the flying eagle and the waves became more and more shocked at this moment. Oh. Suddenly, in the mouth of the flying eagle, which was almost real, it suddenly gave an earth-shaking cry. At the same time, a pair of huge wings shook hard. Suddenly, its huge body hit the head-on foot. At the same time, another old man also made a move in his hand. Above his head, the raging waves surged wildly at this moment, like the substantive waves rising rapidly. In the twinkling of an eye, he was close to the top of the stone chamber. The waves churned and made a sound like the sea hitting the reef. It seems that everyone is really beside a sea at the moment. Drink. Immediately, the old man gave a sharp drink in his mouth, and his heart moved. The waves above his head immediately rushed at Xiao Yang with a turbulent momentum. But at this time, the two elders of Union Pavilion suddenly appeared at the side of Xiao Yang. They each displayed two different fighting skills. Their vigorous fighting spirit kept rising on their body surfaces. In a twinkling of an eye, their strong fighting spirit had gathered on their body surfaces. Don't forget, there are us. At the same time, the human-level fighting skills condensed in their hands were suddenly sacrificed at this moment and blasted away at the oncoming waves. Mr. Xiao Yang, I'm not strong enough to help you too much. I can only hold one for a while. As for that guy, enough, he'll leave it to me. The action of the two Union Pavilion elders instantly relieved Xiao Yang of a lot of pressure. If he was really allowed to deal with the two strong fighting emperors at the same time, he would really be unbearable. However, if he was only one person, Xiao Yang believed that it should be enough to deal with him when using the family pattern and the blood of Long Huang. Sure enough, after seeing the two Union elders, the faces of the two old men in black robes opposite couldn't help but change. Then the next moment, the startling Kai Mang waved from Xiao Yang's hand had collided with the oncoming eagle. Suddenly, the startling explosion sound swept through the stone chamber, and the powerful fighting afterwave quickly swept away from the center of the explosion. In a twinkling, it guarded all the arrays of the stone chamber. They were all smashed by this powerful energy in an instant. The whole stone chamber trembled violently at this moment. Even within several stone chambers nearby, those strong people were also aware of this powerful energy fluctuation. With one blow, Xiao Yang's Kai Mang immediately fell in front of the flying eagle. After all, the strength of both sides is still here. Just one Kai Mang wants to surpass each other, but it's a little whimsical. Gaga. Xiao Yang, I thought you could have much skill. It turns out that you are just like this. With your strength, you also want to compete with me. You really want to die. Seeing that Xiao Yang's fighting skills were easily suppressed, the old man in black immediately showed a disdainful smile on his face, and his heart moved. When the eagle's mouth was neutral, it gave a sharp cry. At the same time, the light on it was suddenly shocked, and a pair of huge eagle claws grabbed Xiao Yang's foot and mang. Looking at this posture, it seemed that he wanted to crush it. Facing the sarcastic words in the mouth of the old man in black robe, Xiao Yang's face under the black robe aroused a sneer. Then, at the moment when the flying eagle was about to move, Xiao Yang looked suddenly cold in his eyes, waved a huge ruler in his hand, and another magnificent ruler and horn, which suddenly burst out. 7 feet, 2 feet, 3 feet, 4 feet, 5 feet, 6 feet, 7 feet, 6 feet in a row, one is stronger than the other. Almost in an instant, it integrates with the first foot and horn. Until this time, the eagle claw grabbed it hard. However, the ruler and horn at the moment are quite different from those before. Kai Mang startled the sky, just like a flag of fire, set up in such a large stone chamber, up to the dome and down to the surface. Just for the magnificent appearance of connecting heaven and earth, it is not comparable to the flying eagle in front of us. What? Seeing this shocking scene, the expression on the old man's face in black changed suddenly. However, before he made any action, there was a sudden burst of fire and a dazzling light on the startling foot mang. 7 broken sky ruler. Broken. The sound of fierce drinking suddenly came out from the bottom of Xiao Yang's heart, and at the same time, the terrible foot mang of different fire also fell fiercely towards the flying eagle. Bang! Under this foot horn, the flying eagle just stuck to breathing for a few times, and burst with a dull bang. At the same time, the black-robed old man's face turned white in an instant, and a mouthful of blood vomited out of his mouth immediately. In the huge stone chamber, a black-robed figure flew backward uncontrollably until it finally collided with the wall inside the stone chamber, pouring with great force, and the whole body was instantly embedded in it. Pooh! After being hit hard, the old man couldn't help spitting out a big mouthful of blood again, and his face quickly turned white. The power of Xiao Yang's attack just now is no less than that of his attack at the peak. In a hurry, he can't fight back. This attack has hurt the old man's strength at the moment. At the moment, he is almost seriously injured. Second brother, Dick. The old man here was defeated. In the other 2 battle circles, the faces of the 2 old men in black changed dramatically. The 2 eyes immediately couldn't help looking at the injured old man, and they couldn't help shouting. At the same time, the 2 elders of Union Pavilion and the North King at the moment also took this opportunity to strike back the other 2 black-robed elders. After the shock retreated the 2 men, the 2 elders of Union Pavilion wanted to take advantage of the victory to pursue, but at this time, Xiao Yang suddenly made a noise. Enough, come back. With a low cry, the 2 elders immediately fixed their bodies in the air, and immediately looked at each other. They frowned, but they still retreated reluctantly. At the same time, under the call of Xiao Yang's mind, the North King's iron body flashed and returned to Xiao Yang's side. A pair of empty and indifferent eyes stared at the 3 people opposite. As long as Xiao Yang gave an order, he will rush out again. As for the old man who was the first of the 3, and the old man who was called the third brother, he hurriedly flashed and quickly came to the old man who was expelled by Xiao Yang. Dick. Second brother. They hurriedly helped the fallen old man up and saw the white face of the latter. They quickly grabbed his wrist with one hand and thought a little. A trace of soul power quickly poured into the latter. After they noticed the several channels in each other's body, the look in their eyes immediately became extremely gloomy. Although the 3 people are not optimistic about each other on weekdays, Now one person is hurt, and their feelings immediately spread out like a river burst. Xiao Yang. The head of the old man shouted hoarsely. Although he didn't turn around, Xiao Yang could also imagine what kind of ferocious look was on his face at the moment. Poof. Compared with the former, the latter is more direct. While his face changes, the fighting spirit in his body also rushes out of the body at this moment. With a big hand waving and water vapor surging, he quickly condenses a long water blue sword in his palm. When his arm shakes, the blade immediately cuts through the void and forcibly tears the void in front of him. The cold and shining sword pointed at Xiao Yang, and there was a strong chi shooting at Xiao Yang. Feeling the power of the shooting, Xiao Yang aside, the two elders of the Cloud Pavilion changed their faces slightly and wanted to fight, but Xiao Yang took a quick step, turned his huge ruler from left to right, and hit and waved it. Although he didn't use any fighting spirit, it was just a random wave, and the invisible power suddenly swept out and turned into a strong wind. This makes a wave rise in the invisible void. Just one face-to-face, Xiao Yang's invisible strong wind destroyed the oncoming strong wind in an instant with the power of destroying the withered and decadent, and then rushed fiercely towards the old man. Seeing that his strength was broken so easily, the old man was furious. At the same time, the long sword in his hand was immediately drawn out, and the fighting spirit roared into a fierce sword light, which stopped the invisible ruler on. However, even so, the sword light of the old man's long sword was broken. Hiss. Seeing this scene, Xiao Yang aside, the two elders of Union Pavilion not only showed a look of shock on their faces, but also couldn't help making a sound of cold breath. They looked at each other secretly, and they were all very surprised. When did Do Di become so vulnerable? A sword light condensed by fighting spirit will be broken by an invisible strength that is freely wielded. Moreover, before that, it has already crushed a strength with the same power. This kind of thing is too incredible. At the same time, even the old man with a sword in his hand opposite couldn't help shrinking his pupils in his muddy old eyes. His shock was not lower than the two opposite. He is a strong man fighting against the emperor. Even if he wields his strength at will, it is reasonable enough to attract the attention of a 9-star and half emperor. Not to mention, Xiao Yang's strength in front of him is no more than 7-star and half emperor. However, just like this, he not only crushed his sword spirit with one blow, but also broke his fighting spirit with this. This kind of thing is incredible. Damn. I don't believe it. You really have the legendary god. There was an unwilling roar in his mouth. The old man's body was shocked. The long sword in his hand was waved again, and his fighting spirit was fierce. His body shape also ran towards Xiao Yang in an instant. Who? Under the black robe, Xiao Yang's slightly pale face frowned slightly. Although one of the other three has been seriously injured at the moment, he is still the strong one fighting the emperor. It is completely impossible to defeat them in a short time with the strength of the other two, let alone keep them here forever. No one can easily solve the power of the strong fighting emperor. It is impossible to meet them every time when they are sent to the door like Zhao Xian. Moreover, their battle here must have alerted some people around. However, someone will come here for a long time. Before that, Xiao Yang must end the battle as soon as possible, otherwise, whether they can solve the three people in front of them or not, it will bring more trouble to Xiao Yang. At present, Xiao Yang can only make a quick decision. Mr. Xiao Yang, let's help you. Xiao Yang was about to make a move. On one side, the two elders of Union Pavilion spoke again. At the same time, they raised their morale and wanted to come forward. No, you stay here and recover your fighting spirit as much as possible. I will solve him first as soon as possible. Once there is another accident, it's not too late for you to do it again. Xiao Yang threw back a jade bottle to each of the two elders. Each jade bottle contained 4 pills. Immediately, without waiting for them to speak, Xiao Yang suddenly turned back, waved the huge ruler in his hand, and the gorgeous ruler burst out at once. At the same time, Xiao Yang's body also swept out, like a flash of lightning, breaking through the oncoming fighting spirit, and then, they collided with the old man in black who rushed back. Seeing Xiao Yang rush out, the two elders of Union Pavilion looked down at the jade bottle in their hands and thought about what Xiao Yang said. They nodded and no longer hesitated. They opened the jade bottle with one hand. Suddenly, a strong smell of medicine came to their faces. The look on the faces of the two elders also changed rapidly at this moment. Third order pill. There was an exclamation from the two people at the same time. What was in the 2 jade bottles was actually a third order pill. 4 pills in each group add up to 8 pills, 8 third order pills. Even if it's his 2 people's collection, it's just worth collecting. However, Xiao Yang took them out so casually in front of him, which can really be called a big deal. I remember before I came here, I heard that Mr. Xiao Yang had become a third-order herbalist. I was skeptical before. Now it seems that I can't be wrong. Among the two old men, an old man in a blue robe couldn't help but exclaim. At Xiao Yang's age, he is only a small generation in Yuanwu mainland. However, the terrible strength he shows can't even be achieved by some strong men of the older generation. I have to say, it can really be called such terror. Tut tut, it's a young hero. With his talent, I'm afraid there are only a few young people who can look at the whole continent and compare with him. No wonder even the mind of the young lord will praise it several times. If there is a future, Xiao Yang's achievements will definitely not only be in a corner of the continent. Yes, it belongs to his stage. It should be there, Zhongyu. The two old men stared at Xiao Yang, who was in the fierce battle. For a moment, they were a little forgetful. Even their injuries were almost forgotten. When the two men regained consciousness, they quickly sat around and swallowed one pill in their hands. The others were carefully collected. Immediately, they hurried into the state of cultivation and tried their best to refine the pills in their bodies. With the spread of the power of the pills in their bodies, the injuries on the two old people are also recovering rapidly with the naked eye. Of course, although the injuries on the body surface are easy to recover, those in their bodies are the most difficult. However, under the terrible power of these 3-level pills, although they cannot recover completely, they are enough to restore the two people to a state of 70 to 80%. In this way, even if they encounter the strong fighting emperor again, they also have the power of backhand. At the moment, facing the old man with the sword, Xiao Yang's attack became more and more powerful. For a moment, he also pressed the other party out of breath. By strength alone, Xiao Yang's strength is almost equal to that of the latter when he has inspired the blood of the dragon phoenix and the family pattern. Coupled with Xiao Yang's terrible physical strength, even some stronger fighting emperors and strong men are also incomparable. With the blessing of different fire and the Xian heavy ruler, the old man in black in front of him is not Xiao Yang's opponent at all. In almost every collision, Xian Chongkai can press the long sword in the latter's hand out of an extremely dangerous arc, and the fighting spirit covered on it is constantly burned and refined to nothingness by different fires. In front of Xiao Yang at the moment, his strength as a star and a half-emperor can't be at all. Damn it! Get out of here! The heavy ruler rubbed close again. At the moment, the old man with an iron face couldn't help roaring. He shook the huge ruler back with a heavy palm. The long sword in his hand twisted quickly and stabbed Xiao Yang's forehead in an extremely tricky direction. Seeing this, Xiao Yang smiled coldly. The giant ruler that had just been shaken back suddenly turned around. Then, the broad ruler front hit the tip of the long sword heavily. The powerful force made the long sword bend rapidly. At the same time, sparks burst out. The old man held the palm of the long sword tightly and couldn't help shaking violently. Then, the tiger's mouth of the palm was forcibly cracked by the great force, and the scarlet blood gushed out of it and splashed on the broken floor below, turning into colorful blood flowers. Spell it. Holding back the move from the wound tear, the old man held the handle of the sword with both hands. The bent long sword fiercely pushed against the edge of the ruler. His fighting spirit poured madly into the long sword, and he wanted to beat back the heavy ruler fiercely. Drink! However, immediately after that, Xiao Yang gave a fierce shout in his mouth, and the fire light condensed in his eyes under the black robe. At the same time, the gorgeous fire covered on the Xian heavy ruler also rose more violently. Click! Suddenly, a clear and crisp breaking sound sounded between Xiao Yang and him. Suddenly, the old man's face suddenly changed, but he couldn't tolerate his movements. The long sword in his hand was followed by a crisp breaking sound. Soon, the long sword was broken in the old man's eyes. Puff! The long sword was broken, and the old man was immediately involved. His face turned red. He couldn't help spewing out a mouthful of blood. Then, Xiao Yang's heavy ruler bombarded the old man's chest at the next moment. Bang! When the blow fell, the injured old man immediately flew out of his body uncontrollably, like a kite with a broken line. Finally, he was supported by the old man with an iron face behind him. At this moment, 2 of the 3 strong fighters have been defeated by Xiao Yang. As for the last one, it is the eldest of the 3. Although he saw that his 2 brothers were badly hurt by Xiao Yang, the old man at this time was angry and couldn't get angry, not for anything else, because of the North King standing behind Xiao Yang. Now 2 of the 3 brothers have been injured. He can't do it easily. Otherwise, once all 3 of them are seriously injured, they are afraid they will have no way to survive in this dangerous relic, so they must keep one person anyway. After defeating the old man in black robe, Xiao Yang also stood upright in the air, and the Xian heavy ruler in his hand was included in the ring in a flash. A pair of glowing eyes appeared under the black robe. He looked coldly at the old man in black robe standing opposite him. Immediately, he looked at the door of the stone chamber. At the moment, as Xiao Yang had expected, many strong people had gathered. Of course, the strength of these people was only half emperor, which made Xiao Yangshan happy at the moment. Otherwise, if there are a few more strong fighters, he will be in real trouble today. After performing 7 times to break the sky ruler, he hit a strong fighter again and again. I'm afraid it's impossible for an ordinary fighter to do this, but he did it with the strength of half emperor. Such a record can be called against the sky. Of course, behind such achievements against the sky, Xiao Yang at the moment has also reached the point where the oil is exhausted and the lamp is dry. If it weren't for frightening the hungry wolves in front of him, he might have fallen to the ground. It's just to save the last bite of strength that Xiao Yang put away the mysterious heavy ruler so as not to be seen by the other party. Although not afraid, after all, heroes can't rely on too many people. It's not a long-term plan to defeat many people. After all, there are many strong people who enter the ruins this time. If they drag on, it will only harm Xiao Yang. Outside the stone chamber, when those people saw Xiao Yang's eyes, they all shrank back and hid behind, for fear that this terrible guy would give them a foot. If it fell on them, I'm afraid it would be difficult to die. Xiao Yang. Opposite Xiao Yang, the old man's tone was extremely unwilling. The words he bit almost jumped out from between his teeth. People can feel the violent killing intention mixed with it as soon as they hear it. The old man didn't deliberately lure the group of people outside the stone chamber to make this cannon fodder, not because he didn't expect it, but he knew in his heart that in front of absolute strength, no matter how much quantity, it would be useless after all. In his opinion, Xiao Yang at this time has the terrorist power to kill anyone present. Although the strength of those people outside the door is not strong, they are not stupid. It is impossible to rush up because of his few words. Cough. Brother, we fought with him. Today is death. With self-explosion, we must pull him on the back. In the arms of the old man's voice struggling with no blood on his face. In such a situation, it's impossible to live. In that case, even if you die, you can't let Xiao Yang opposite live. Shut up. As long as I'm here today, he won't want to kill us. I will take you out alive. The boss's voice is very dignified, but it's not hard to hear from his words. In addition to dignified, it is also mixed with a determination. I believe that since he can say such words, he can definitely do it. At the same time, the old man in black robe suddenly shook his body, and there was a few fighting spirit in his body. At this moment, he was ready to fight with Xiao Yang in front of him. If he failed, he would fight hard to bring Xiao Yang into the yellow spring. Seeing this scene in front of him, at this moment, Rao can't help but move slightly with Xiao Yang's temperament. Although the 3 people are cruel, they have to say that the brotherhood is incomparable. This can't help but remind Xiao Yang of his eldest brother and second brother. The eyes under the black robe closed slowly, and the atmosphere in the field solidified. Outside the stone gate, everyone was holding their breath. The atmosphere on the field was a little terrible. You. Go. Suddenly, Xiao Yang under the black robe spit out such a sentence, which surprised everyone present. Everyone could not think of it, including the 2 old men in black robe who are still awake and standing on the opposite side of Xiao Yang. They were also shocked. They could hardly believe their ears. At present, Xiao Yang, who forced them into a dying situation with his own strength, wants to let them leave. You. What did you say? The eldest brother opened his eyes abruptly, stared at Xiao Yang with an unbelievable face, and asked in a trembling voice. You. Go. Xiao Yang made a sound again. His voice was depressed and trembled. The weakness in his body had made him feel a little out of support. At the moment, the people have no time to pay attention to these details. At this moment, the only shock in their hearts is that Xiao Yang will let them leave. If these 3 people were capable, Xiao Yang would have become the soul of their men, but now. You. Are you really going to let us go? The anger in the boss's scarlet eyes quickly faded. Anyway, if he could let his brothers live, how would he care about Xiao Yang at the moment? There are many opportunities for revenge, but the most important thing now is to live. This time, Xiao Yang no longer spoke, but silently nodded. At the same time, the scarlet color in the boss's eyes had dispersed. He didn't dare to be careless. While watching Xiao Yang carefully, he held up the second behind him. The invisible force held the injured 2 people in the air. The boss stared at Xiao Yan carefully and was on guard all the time. However, when the three people carefully came to the stone gate where the people retreated and were just about to leave the stone chamber, after the three people, Xiao Yang under the cover of black robes made a sound again. Wait. The boss's nerves suddenly tightened, and his fighting spirit flowed rapidly. His eyes turned and stared at Xiao Yang. His killing intention in his eyes condensed again. If you want to fight, just come directly. Why bother teasing? The boss stared at Xiao Yang with an ugly face. His scarlet eyes seemed to swallow it. If his eyes could kill, I'm afraid Xiao Yang would have died many times. When the words jumped out of the old man's teeth, the old man waved his big hand, and the turbulent fighting spirit immediately condensed in his palm. His breath instantly rose to the peak, and he was always ready to make this last fight with Xiao Yang in front of him. The strong breath wave spread around the old man. Outside the stone chamber, the people immediately retreated in panic and didn't dare to look closely. They could only look at the old man in black robe in front of the door from a distance, and only a small piece of Xiao Yang in black robe was exposed in the depths of the stone chamber. Whoosh! While the old man was preparing to shoot, in Xiao Yang's hand, a streamer suddenly shot from under his sleeve robe, just like a meteor, straight at the old man in black robe. Huh! Aware that there was no energy breath on the streamer, the old man could not help frowning slightly. At the moment when the streamer came to his eyes, he was suspicious and controlled it in the palm. For the sake of insurance, the old man did not hold it in the palm, but controlled it to float over the palm. Soon, when the old man looked intently, what was floating over the palm of his hand was an exquisite jade bottle. In the jade bottle, 6 round pills were clearly stored. Seeing this, the old man looked a little stunned in his eyes. Immediately, he looked up at Xiao Yang, his eyes narrowed, and his voice said in a low voice, "What do you mean? Here are 6 third-order pills." The low voice of words came out of Xiao Yang's mouth. The body shape under the black robe was trembling, and bin-sized beads of sweat kept coming out on his forehead. As soon as Xiao Yang's voice fell, the pupil in the old man's eyes suddenly shrunk, while the jade bottle suspended above the palm was intuitively grasped in the palm. 6 third-order pills are enough to impress most of the strong. Although he is a strong man fighting the Emperor, he can't ignore them in front of the third-order pills, especially the 6 third-order pills. At the same time, after that, the faces of the semi-imperial strong men outside the stone chamber also changed in an instant. Even when they looked at the old man in front of them, there was a look of greed. Hum. But then, the old man suddenly gave a disdainful cold hum in his nose, and the space shook. The people behind him immediately seemed to be frightened sheep and quickly retracted. The atmosphere in the field also quieted down again. Everyone's eyes were staring at Xiao Yang and the old man in black at the moment. They didn't leave for a moment. "What on earth do you mean?" After a while, the old man couldn't help asking. As a strong man fighting the Emperor, he understood the value of the third-order pill more. 6 third-order pills were enough for Xiao Yang to invite a strong man at the level of fighting the Emperor as a thug. At the moment, Xiao Yang's behavior made him a little unclear. However, Xiao Yang was non-committal, which made the old man frown secretly, but the scarlet color in his eyes finally subsided again. Only when he looked at Xiao Yang, there was still a trace of hostility, but it was much better than before. While the old man was about to ask again, not far behind Xiao Yang, the 2 elders of Union Pavilion, with their closed eyes, finally opened slowly at this moment. A flash of light quickly passed between their 2 turbid eyes. Immediately, as soon as they smiled, they quickly stood up, took a few steps forward and came to Xiao Yang's side. The 2 glanced at Xiao Yang and looked straight at the old man in black robe in front of the stone chamber door. They looked cold in their eyes and thought a little. They had just recovered a lot of fighting spirit in their body. They immediately swarmed out at the moment. The powerful breath made the emptiness around them agitated. "Mr. Xiao Yang, this guy, just give it to my brothers," one of the elders said bitterly. Previously, the old man had made them suffer for a while. Now, it's time to pay it back. Another old man should nod. They don't have any pity for these 3 guys. After all, when they are dying, no one has mercy on them. On the other side, the old man in black robe saw the 2 men get up. His face just calmed down, suddenly changed. He didn't dare to neglect at all. His heart read a move. The fighting spirit in his body poured out of his body again, took a step forward and protected his 2 brothers behind him. If these 2 people really do it, then even if he does everything, he will certainly stop them in front of him. He made up his mind with hatred. The old man's face gradually became cold, and a decisive color could be seen between his eyebrows. When the 2 people around Xiao Yang were about to fight, Xiao Yang, who was barely supported by his body, suddenly grabbed the wrists of the two people. Suddenly, they frowned together and wondered why Xiao Yang would stop them. But when they noticed that Xiao Yang had some cold palms, the look in the depths of the pupils could not help a change. In their hearts, they knew the specific state of Xiao Yang at the moment. Yes. The two old men looked at each other. Immediately, they took a light breath and nodded to Xiao Yang. At the same time, the fighting spirit gushing from the body surface gradually recovered from the body. Seeing this scene, the old man in black can't help frowning slightly, but he doesn't dare to be careless at all. The fighting spirit runs quietly and is on guard all the time. Let's go. Since Mr. Xiao Yang let you live, we'll leave quickly. Otherwise, even if Mr. Xiao Yang won't repent, once we both repent, you won't want to leave here. Among them, an old man said in a low voice. Hearing this, the muscles in the corners of the old man's eyes could not help twitching slightly, but at the thought of the current situation, he had to press down all the unwilling in his heart, and his eyes looked solemnly at the two old men. Immediately, he looked at Xiao Yang and said in a gloomy tone, Xiao Yang, remember today's account. Even if you take out the third-order pill, today's business is not so easy. The words fell, and the black-robed old man ignored the cold look in the eyes of the two old men beside Xiao Yang. Holding the bodies of the two people behind him, he drove away all the powerful emperors and half in front of him while walking out of the stone chamber, and then quickly disappeared into the passage. Until this time, Xiao Yang, who was wearing a black robe and his face was white, suddenly softened and fell asleep with the help of two people nearby. In the slightly dilapidated stone chamber, at this moment, two old people with thick momentum are sitting on a relatively complete broken stone slab. In front of them, a figure dressed in black robes is standing quietly. With the breath and suction between the nose of the figure, the energy of heaven and earth in this space gradually flows into his body as if pulled. A touch of ruddy gradually appeared on the pale face of the man in black. At the moment, in addition to the two old men sitting together, there is another strong figure with a faint purple and gold streamer all over. It is standing beside the black-robed man. At such a distance, if any of the two people want to fight against the black-robed man, he can launch a counterattack instantly, which cannot help but surprise the two old men. The figure is clearly just a puppet, but it seems that it retains the wisdom different from ordinary puppets. Moreover, in the previous battle, the two elders also clearly found that the puppet in front of them actually has extremely rich combat experience. Each move will make the opponent feel as difficult as fighting with living people. In particular, his body of King Kong makes it extremely difficult. A puppet at the level of quasi-emperor can fight a real star warrior without losing the wind, and even vaguely suppress it in the opposite direction. It is unimaginable that if the puppet's strength rises to a higher level in the future, wouldn't even the high-ranking emperor be his opponent? Hiss. At the thought of this, Rao couldn't help but make a sound of sucking the air conditioner with the heart of the two old people. No wonder they were so shocked. After all, this is a puppet whose strength can compare with that of human beings. I'm afraid no one can easily underestimate it. Of course, while they were shocked by the puppet's strength in their hearts, they did not forget that the puppet's master was a more terrible guy. No one can achieve this kind of pride by defeating two strong fighting emperors on their own. Moreover, the person who does it is only a 6-star and a half emperor. With this in mind, when the two elders looked at the black-robed man in front of them, they couldn't help but burst into a shock. Such a powerful master and a puppet whose strength is almost no less than that of his master. I'm afraid they can walk horizontally in the whole western region. No wonder the 4 major gates can't catch him for such a long time. However, they were thankful that the master of the puppet was with them. Otherwise, if they met such a terrible opponent, even if they were powerful, they would suffer a lot of trouble. Well. However, just when the two old men had such an idea in their hearts, Xiao Yang, who had been in a coma in front of them, suddenly gave a low groan. Immediately, his closed eyes trembled gently and opened slowly. The gentle soft light poured into Xiao Yang's eyes at the moment when Xiao Yang opened his eyes, which made him frown slightly. After a short adaptation, it opened slowly. At the moment when he opened his eyes, Xiao Yang saw the North King guarding beside him. The latter's body stood like an iron tower. Wei Yirant's momentum reassured Xiao Yang at the moment. He is not in a state in all aspects now, but the North King has become his biggest reliance. With the North King beside him, Xiao Yang can finally feel a sense of security. Although there are 2 elders of Union Pavilion around him, it can't make Xiao Yang completely rest assured of them. Only his own strength can make Xiao Yang really feel at ease. This is why the 2 elders can't get close to Xiao Yang when he is unconscious. Mr. Xiao Yang, are you all right? When Xiao Yang got up, The two old men next to him immediately leaned forward and asked Xiao Yang with concern. Hearing the speech, Xiao Yang took a deep breath, then slowly spit it out, frowned and said, "It's okay. It's just that the fighting spirit is consumed too much. It's not a big deal, but it may take a few days to fully recover." In this war, although Xiao Yang has inflicted heavy losses on the two strong fighters, it is precisely because of this that Xiao Yang displays his two trump cards, Dragon Phoenix Blood and Family Pattern. These two trump cards play a vital role in this war. It is the joint use of these two means that Xiao Yang can forcibly hurt the two strong fighters with his own strength. After displaying the Dragon Phoenix Blood and Family Pattern, the consumption of the two blood forces will doom Xiao Yang to be unable to use these two means again for a period of time in the future, which will undoubtedly reduce Xiao Yang's overall strength. However, it is useless to think about those. Xiao Yang is most worried about the whereabouts of Ninghun fruit. After all, that thing is too important for him. If he wants to refine ice elixir, Xiao Yang must first get the soul condensation fruit. Of course, Xiao Yang didn't forget that there were the last two kinds of medicinal materials, but one of the three was that Xiao Yang couldn't refine ice elixir. Hearing Xiao Yang's words, the two elders gradually relaxed in their hearts. After complimenting Xiao Yang, one of the elders respectfully sent a snow-white ring to Xiao Yang. This. Xiao Yang frowned, and his pale face couldn't help showing a look of doubt. Although he saved them, he didn't say he came for their things. "Hey, Mr. Xiao Yang, all the items in this ring are in this stone chamber. They were already in the bag of my brothers, but I didn't expect to meet those three guys. If Mr. Xiao Yang didn't arrive in time, let alone these things, I'm afraid the lives of my brothers would be lost. Therefore, the things in this should belong to Xiao Yang first raw." The old man who handed Naji to Xiao Yang smiled respectfully at the latter. Seeing this, another old man also smiled and nodded. It's not easy for them to save their lives this time. They no longer expect to get the indoor things. Besides, this legacy is not small, and they don't need the things in this stone room. The big deal is to find another stone chamber. Seeing the two old men show this appearance, Xiao Yang reluctantly shakes his head. Immediately, he takes over the Naji handed over by the old man. At the same time, in the depths of his eyebrows, a wisp of soul power quickly gushes out at the moment. In a twinkling of an eye, he has entered the snow-white Naji and explored it quickly, so as to find the soul condensation fruit he needs. However, it's a pity that after some searching, Xiao Yang didn't find the slightest fluctuation of soul power, which can't help but disappoint Xiao Yang. Sure enough, it's not easy for him to find something precious like Ning soul fruit. However, Xiao Yang was helpless and was about to give up. When he wanted to withdraw from the exploration of soul power, suddenly, a chill that made the soul feel cold and tingling suddenly came from a corner of the ring. This is. Aware of the chill, Xiao Yang suddenly moved in his heart and quickly turned it out of a pile of heaven and earth treasures. Suddenly, a strange ice-blue grass with snow-like leaves appeared in front of Xiao Yang. This is frozen grass. This video will end here.